the time is right for the Colts to move on and look for someone else. How about Jimmy Garoppolo? Reportedly expected to be in the mix, the Colts are, for Garoppolo. Is it an upgrade over Wentz? When the owner has decided he hates the guy, anyone's an upgrade. And that you mentioned that earlier. I mean, this was Jim Irsay deciding, get this guy the F out of here. Mm-hmm. I don't want this guy as the quarterback of my football team. The fact that they got anything under those circumstances is remarkable.
Yes.
Garoppolo, at least he's not going to piss off the owner on the way through the door, but is he going to take a team that almost made it to the playoffs to the promised land?
Yeah, well, I mean, in this case, like you're saying, it wasn't even Jim Irsay being like, oh, won't someone rid me of this meddlesome priest? He told Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, get this meddlesome priest the hell up out of my organization. So I guess that's kind of the one thing there, right? But look, why I would think Jimmy Garoppolo is maybe a better option than Carson Wentz at this point is because you have some real playoff experience in winning playoff games and making some winning plays. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo also makes the losing plays, and I think we've seen that plenty. But what I think about with Jimmy Garoppolo sometimes is how he can do things when he needs to the most. That Week 18 game against the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium, he made play after play on that last drive to bring San Francisco down and tie that game. And then they were able to win it in overtime because Matthew Stafford threw a boneheaded interception down the right sideline when he was trying to target Odell Beckham Jr. So there are times where Jimmy Garoppolo has played great. In 2019, we want to talk about 2019 with Carson Wentz. Jimmy Garoppolo was pretty consistent there. And then in the playoffs, yes, Kyle Shanahan kind of pulled the reins back and was basically like, you're not going to lose this. Because we have a good running game. I know. But I let you talk about Carson Wentz in 2017. All right. So this is what I'm going to do here. I just feel like if you want a veteran guy who's got that playoff experience and can help you, then Jimmy Garoppolo, especially after the experience of Carson Wentz, is a decent option, especially because there's not much else out there right now. So and with the cap space that the Colts have right now, I think that I understand why they would be interested in Garoppolo to replace somebody like Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and again, what other options do they have? First guy I thought of when I saw the report of Wentz to Washington was Kirk Cousins. Because wouldn't Kirk Cousins be the perfect quarterback for what the Colts are trying to be? A fringe playoff team. Just get in. Don't worry about whether or not you... I mean, really, that's what they're trying to be. Because I was on with Paul Allen. That's what he will lead you to be, a fringe playoff team. You'll get in.
Like, why am I in it? My goodness, it was out of nowhere, slamming the Vikings.
But that's. I was on with Paul Allen earlier today, and that was the point I made. There's plenty of teams out there that would love to be mediocre, which is what the Vikings currently are right now as they reside in purple purgatory. So the problem is Cousins is, as a practical matter, untradeable because he got 1 year at $35 million. You can't franchise tag him next year because it would be $64 million. He'd get a 44% raise over his $45 million cap number. He's not going to sign an extension. He's the GOAT when it comes to football business, and that's not even a consideration. And I assume that Washington – I don't think Washington called the Vikings, but I assume the Colts at least considered it. Wouldn't that have been something if the Commanders had brought Kirk Cousins back home? That would have been something. But I think that Garoppolo is the best option. But if they could somehow convince Cousins to sign a contract that isn't ridiculous, he may be in a better spot in Indianapolis than he'd be in Minnesota. The Kevin O'Connell connection is strong, but again, that's pie in the sky for the Colts. They need someone who can be a stopgap while they try to figure out where their next franchise quarterback is going to come from, and they just continue to struggle to deal with that aftermath of the Andrew Luck surprise retirement from August of 2019.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, the week one starting QBs have been different for the last 5 years and will be different again for a sixth consecutive year for the Indianapolis Colts. I would ask you this, though, Mike. If you are the Indianapolis Colts, would you rather have Jimmy Garoppolo, Marcus Mariota, or Mitchell Trubisky?
I would probably rather have Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
By a hair over Marcus Mariota. A hair. Because Mariota gets injured. Remember last year, like it was the first week of the season, the Monday night game against the Ravens, he has the big run and then he injures himself. So I think Trubisky Trubisky to me is a very compelling figure in that he went to the playoffs twice with the Bears. He was never a match for Matt Nagy. Last year, he spent a year in limbo with the Bills, and maybe he learned a few things. I think he's going to end up with the Giants, but I would go for him. Of those three, I would go for him. And just see what happens. Reasonable contract, see what happens.
See, but by that same point, if I were Washington, I might have wanted to go for Mitchell Trubisky more than Carson Wentz, because we know that Mitchell Trubisky can do some things. I mean, frankly, I would rather have Mitchell Trubisky than Carson Wentz. I just would, and I would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo than Trubisky, I think, but Trubisky over Wentz, because I think that there is some more upside to Mitchell Trubisky that might be untapped. And if you get Trubisky, you're not giving up any draft pick compensation. So perhaps you can surround him with some more talented young guys that can help him. So that's at least the way I would think of it. I mean, if I'm the Colts, I don't know if I would rather have Garoppolo. It depends on what the price is, I guess. But Garoppolo over Mitchell Trubisky is one thing. But if we all believe, and it seems like a lot of us do, that Trubisky is going to end up going to the Giants, then you might be, stuck without a chair at the end of the music with musical chairs, if you don't go out there and get somebody like a Carson Wentz or a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.